The first thing I heard was the sound of glass breaking downstairs. Sharp, vicious, the kind of sound that slices clean through the bones of quiet night. For a second, I didn't breathe. Couldn't. My mind snapped awake so violently it felt like being dragged from underwater. Amina, pressed against my chest, stirred with a soft, confused sigh, her warm breath brushing my neck. I held her tighter, instinct overriding panic, even as my pulse pounded loud enough to drown out the world. Another crash, this one heavier. Something metallic hitting the floor. Voices followed. 3, maybe 4. All male, all confident. I didn't need to hear the words to know why they were here. Debt collectors didn't knock politely. Not the illegal kind I'd been forced to borrow from after the Marine Corps spit me out with nothing but a broken shoulder and a recommendation letter no one cared to read. After child support from my ex stopped. After the foreclosure notice appeared like a death sentence on my door. I stood frozen in the dark hallway, Amina's tiny fingers gripping my shirt with a trust only a child could have. I expected myself to panic, to crumble, to curse myself for letting things get this bad, but instead my muscle memory took over. Survival, silence, escape plan. Except I didn't have one. The front door was blocked. I'd heard them breaking through it. The back door would be surrounded. These men weren't dumb. Windows were too loud, too risky with a baby in my arms. The attic, maybe. I moved, stepping carefully over the toy truck Amina had dropped earlier, its wheels glinting faintly in the moonlight. Every creak of the floor felt like a scream. My breath came harsh but controlled, my mind already calculating distance, angles, weight. Even after everything, I was still a Marine at the core, but Marines face danger with a rifle, not with a child. A beam of light suddenly cut across the stairwell. "Yo, he's up there," a voice barked. Amina whimpered and buried her face into my neck. I froze, not because I didn't know what to do, but because the universe had already decided for me. The steps creaked as one of them began to ascend. I grabbed the attic ladder, pulled it halfway down, stopped. If I climbed up, they'd corner me. If I stayed, they'd find me. If I ran, my phone vibrated. Amina stiffened at the buzz, and I nearly dropped it. Unknown number. Perfect timing. Probably another threat from one of the loan sharks. Or maybe someone finally reporting the noise. But I answered anyway, desperation overriding reason. "Mr. Karim," a woman's voice said. Something in her tone cut through the panic. Not rude, not aggressive, just steady, controlled. "Yes." I whispered, glancing down the staircase. A silhouette appeared at the bottom, broad shoulders, baseball bat dangling at his side like a promise. "This is Alina," she said, CEO of Higher-Tech Solutions. I blinked. Of all moments. "I'm calling regarding your job application. I read your file. The Marine background, your technical certifications. I wanted to speak to you personally." My throat tightened. Why now? Why tonight of all nights? Her voice softened. "Mr. Karim, are you safe?" Safe. Such a fragile, ridiculous word. I backed into the hallway, heart thundering. "Now's not a good time." "I can hear something," she murmured. "Are you in danger?" The man on the stairs took another heavy step. Fight or flight surged through me, but I couldn't fight with Amina in my arms, and I had nowhere to fly. "Mr. Karim," she said again, voice firmer now. "Are you alone? Do you need help?" A laugh, dry, bitter, escaped me before I could stop it. "Yeah, I need help, but you can't give the kind I need." "Try me," she said quietly. Another man joined the first at the bottom of the staircase. "Karim, you have 10 seconds. Bring yourself down or we come up." Amina began to cry, soft and scared, as if a tiny body sensed the violence growing in the walls. Everything inside me split in two, the part that wanted to protect her at any cost, and the part drowning in shame for letting life reach this point. I used to be someone, a provider, a fighter, a husband, a father, not a man hiding in his own home like a rat. "I have my daughter," I whispered into the phone. The line went silent for a breath. Then another voice entered, softer, higher pitched. A child. "Mom, is everything okay?" "Mom, So the CEO had a daughter. Maybe two. There was a faint murmur behind her. Mr. Kareem, Alina said, her voice now edged with urgency. I need you to tell me what's going on. Right now. A man stepped onto the first stair, gripping the railing. 9, 8. Amina's cries grew louder. Her fear was a blade against my heart. My voice cracked, raw with humiliation. There are men in my house. Debt collectors. Illegal ones. I don't have anywhere to go. I expected judgment, or fear, or her hanging up. Instead, Alina's voice sharpened with command. Take your daughter. Leave the house. Right now. I can't. The exits are... Kareem. A deep breath. A shift. A decision being made on her end. I'm coming to get you. My blood froze. What? No, you don't even know me. I know enough, she said. You're a Marine who served 12 years. You're a single father. You applied for a job 12 minutes before midnight. People who apply at that hour aren't looking for work. They are begging for a lifeline. And right now, I hear a baby crying. I'm not hanging up. The second man started climbing. 7, 6. I backed away. This is insane. You'll get hurt. My daughters are with me, she said. We're in the car already. Send me your address. You're with your kids. I almost shouted. No, you need to stay away. I'm not abandoning you. The words hit harder than any punch. No one had said anything like that to me in years. But her daughter's voices in the background made something twist in my chest. You can't put them at risk. Kareem, she said softly, they are safer with me than you are with those men. Tell me where you are. The men were halfway up now. I clenched my jaw. Every instinct screamed against trusting a stranger. A CEO, someone from a different world. But something about her voice, steady, firm, stubbornly calm. A leader, a mother, someone who wasn't going to walk away just because she didn't have to stay. I told her the address. Lock yourself in a room, she commanded. I'll be there in 15 minutes. You won't get here in time, I whispered. Maybe not, she said, but you'll hold on until I do. The stairs groaned. A shadow loomed. Amina screamed. I turned, ran to the bedroom, slammed the door, locked it, shoved the dresser in front. My hand shook violently as I held Amina against me, whispering soft promises I didn't know if I could keep. The banging began instantly. I slid down the wall, holding her so tight I thought I'd crush us both. Through the phone, Alina whispered, Stay with me. Talk to me. Don't panic. Her voice was my last thread holding me to sanity. What if they break through? I forced out, throat burning. Then you defend your daughter, she said, and I'll defend you when I get there. The door cracked slightly. A boot slammed against it again. I buried my face in Amina's hair, breathing her in like oxygen. I don't think I can. Yes, Alina said, voice unwavering. You can, and you will. The door splintered. A hand forced through. Amina screamed so loud it shattered something inside me. And over the chaos, another voice, sharp, terrified, pleading, came through the phone. Mom, hurry. A second child. Another daughter. Alina's breathing quickened. She was speeding, driving toward danger for a man she'd never met. And in that moment, between the cracking wood, my daughter's cries, and a stranger's voice promising she wasn't giving up, I realized something brutal and terrifying. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was the beginning of a collision between two broken worlds. The door frame splintered in a violent crack, the sound echoing through the small bedroom like a gunshot. Amina's scream tore through the air, raw and terrified. I lunged forward, pressing my shoulder harder against the dresser I dragged in front of the door. But the weight wasn't enough. Not against grown men with bloodlust in their eyes and debt in their pockets. A hand forced its way through the opening. Rough knuckles, bruised skin, a gold ring glinting under the hallway light. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a metal lamp, and swung it with my full strength. Bone crunched under the impact. The hand yanked back, followed by a string of curses. Amina cried harder, her small body shaking violently in my arms. My pulse hammered so fast it hurt. I leaned against the dresser again, my breath ragged as I tried to keep both myself and my daughter steady. On the phone, Alina's voice cut through the chaos. "I'm 6 minutes away," she said. "Stay with me." Her tone was different now, tighter, faster, threaded with fear she was trying to hide. I could hear wind rushing through her car window, tires roaring over the asphalt. She was speeding, probably dangerously so. Don't bring your daughters here," I gasped, bracing the dress against another slam from the other side. "Stay back. Please. I can't let you get hurt." "You don't get to decide that," she snapped, not with anger, but with a kind of stubborn desperation that didn't match the calm CEO I'd spoken to minutes earlier. "Tell me, are you bleeding? Is your daughter hurt?" "No," I said quickly. "She's just scared." "I'm scared." Admitting it tasted like rust on my tongue. Marines aren't supposed to be scared. Fathers aren't supposed to be scared. But here I was, trembling against a half-broken door, praying I could keep a 1-year-old alive long enough for help that shouldn't even be coming. "Good," she murmured, more to herself than to me. "Just keep breathing. What room are you in?" "Master bedroom," I whispered. "Second floor." "Okay. When I arrive, I need you to listen carefully. Don't open the door for anyone except." The next slam was so hard it knocked the dresser an inch backward across the wooden floor. "Except me," she finished. "I'll knock 3 times. You'll know it's me." A shadow moved under the door, slow and deliberate, like a predator taking its time. "Kareem," she whispered, "talk to me. Don't go quiet." The men outside muttered angrily. "Ready again." One growled. "This time break it." My stomach plunged. "Alina," I said, barely audible, "why are you doing this?" A brief pause. "Because no one helped me once," she said softly. "Nobody. And I live every day wishing someone had. No one deserves to face danger alone. Not you. Not your child." Her voice trembled on the last word, just slightly, but enough to crack through my misery. I tightened my grip around Amina. Another slam. The dresser lurched. Wood cracked. My heart nearly stopped. 5 minutes, Alina whispered. 5 minutes, Kareem. Hold on for 5 minutes. I didn't know if I had 5 seconds. Amina sobbed uncontrollably, burying her face into my shirt. Her fingers clutched my collar so tightly I could feel her nails through the fabric. Every instinct in me screamed to protect her, to shield her, to fight until I had nothing left. The next hit was a full body ram. The door buckled violently, and the air filled with a terrifying sound of wood breaking apart. "Dad," Amina whimpered, though she couldn't form the word. It came out as a broken "da, da" that shredded my insides. Then everything seemed to slow. The hallway light flickered. Dust drifted from the cracked ceiling. My breathing came in shallow pools as adrenaline flooded me. Then, suddenly, car brakes screeched outside. Hard, violent. A car door slammed. 2 more slammed immediately after. Voices floated up from outside. Female voices. "Mom, Mom, wait!" "Slow down." Alina was here. The banging outside the door stopped for a moment, confusion replacing urgency. One of the men muttered, "Someone just pulled up." "Probably a neighbor," another said. "We'll finish this and get out." "No," a third hissed. "Check it." Footsteps moved downstairs. Heavy, cautious. My pulse pounded in my ears as faint voices drifted up from the outside, Alina's included. "Stay behind me," she ordered, voice firm, but shaking with the adrenaline of a mother stepping into danger with her children. "Don't go near the street. Stand by the driveway. If I tell you to get in the car, you get in the car. Do you hear me?" "Yes, Mom." The girls echoed, their voices small. Then the front door slammed open. "Hello." Alina's voice rang through the house. "Is anyone here?" The men froze. "What the hell? Who is that?" "She shouldn't be here." "It's a woman." "With kids." One cursed. "This idiot got a damn babysitter or something. Let's get rid of her." Rage exploded inside me. Cold. Dark. Consuming. They were going after her. I stood up so fast the dresser rattled. Alina, I whispered urgently. Get out. Get your daughters out. They're coming toward the living room. She didn't whisper back. Instead, she said, louder than before, Kareem, I'm here. I'm in the house. The men spun toward her voice. Upstairs, one shouted. No, living room. She's alone. Amina clung to my neck, sobbing into my skin. Alina, I choked out. Take your kids and run. No, she said, voice steady. I told you, I'm not abandoning you. A faint shuffle. I have pepper spray. And something heavier. What? What heavier? I'll explain later. I heard movement. Fast, angry footsteps marching toward her. The hallway below erupted into chaos. Furniture scraping. A body slamming into a wall. A scream. One of the daughters. My heart stopped. Mom, one cried. Mom, watch out. Get back. Alina shouted. Stay outside. The men surrounded her. I could hear them, taunting her, cornering her. Something inside me snapped. I ripped the dresser away from the door. Splinters flew. The door hung half-broken from its hinges, but I forced it open with my shoulder. Amina cried in confusion as I held her tight with one arm and ran. Down the hallway, past the pictures of a life I'd failed to protect. Down the staircase 2 steps at a time. My injured shoulder screamed in pain. My lungs burned. My vision tunneled. When I reached the bottom, I saw everything at once. Alina stood by the living room wall, breathing hard, clutching a small canister of pepper spray in one hand and a folded metal object in the other, a self-defense baton. Her eyes were wild, terrified, determined. Her daughters, 2 small girls, maybe 8 and 10, were outside by the car, crying but staying where she'd told them. 3 men stood in front of her, all bigger, all armed, all ready to hurt her because of me. One of them turned. His eyes landed on me. A Marine, he sneered. Look at that. Daddy finally came out. I held Amina tighter. Alina, I said, voice rough and breaking. Take your daughters. Go. No, she breathed, shaking her head. Not without you. The leader tilted his head. This your girlfriend? Should have told us we were crashing a date. She's not, I began, but I never got to finish. The man closest to Alina lunged toward her. I didn't think. I reacted. Years of combat training surged through my body in an instant. I braced Amina against my chest with one arm and slammed my foot into the staircase railing, launching myself forward. I hit the man's shoulder first. Pain exploded up my injured arm, but I stayed on my feet. He fell backward, hitting the side table with a crash. The leader roared, "Get him!" The second man ran at me. Alina moved faster. She swung the baton, hard, striking the man directly in the ribs with a crack so sharp it made him gasp. He stumbled back, clutching his side. The leader advanced on her. I saw it happening as if in slow motion, his hand reaching out, fingers curling into a fist. I shifted Amina into one arm, grabbed a fallen table lamp with the other, and hurled it at him. It struck the back of his head. He staggered, groaning. One of the daughters screamed from outside. Alina's breath hitched. Amina cried louder, terrified by the noise. Then, suddenly, sirens. Loud. Close. Growing. Blue and red lights flickered through the windows. The men panicked instantly. Shit! Police! Abort! Abort! They scrambled toward the back of the house, shoving each other out of the way, disappearing into the night like cowards. The moment they were gone, silence collapsed over the room. A heavy, trembling silence. Alina turned toward me, still breathing hard, hair falling out of her clip, her eyes wide with shock and adrenaline. I sank onto my knees, clutching Amina, shaking uncontrollably. You came, I whispered, voice breaking. Alina knelt in front of me, her hand trembling as she reached forward, not touching, just hovering, as if asking permission without words. I told you, she said softly, I wasn't leaving you. Outside, the police were already approaching. Inside, my entire world had shifted. And as her daughters ran into the house crying "Mom," and Alina pulled them close, tears streaking her face, something hit me harder than fear. I had just seen a stranger risk her life, and her children's, just to keep me and my daughter alive. Trust, hope, connection, the things I'd thought I'd lost forever. Alina met my eyes, still holding her daughters protectively. And in that moment, I didn't know whether this was the beginning of salvation, or the beginning of an even more devastating betrayal. The police filled the house like a wave, boots, flashlights, clipped voices, commands echoing through the broken entryway. Officers took statements, search rooms, photographed splintered wood and scattered furniture. But none of it felt real to me. Not the flashing lights outside, not the broken door at my back, not even the smell of dust and fear still hanging in the air. What felt real, terrifyingly real, was Alina sitting across from me on the living room floor, her daughters pressed against her sides, her arms wrapped around them in protective embrace that hadn't loosened since the men escaped. Amina had finally stopped crying and now lay against my shoulder, exhausted, thumb in her mouth. But my body still trembled with the aftershocks of adrenaline. Every few seconds, I looked at the doorway, half expecting the men to burst back in. A young female police officer approached me with a clipboard. "Mr. Karim, did you recognize any of the intruders?" "No," I said, "but I know who sent them." She wrote something down. "We'll need names." "I'll give them to you," I murmured. "Just let me hold my daughter for a minute." Her gaze softened. "Take your time." She moved on, leaving me in a quiet corner of the room. Alina watched me, her eyes red from tears and stress, but still steady. Her daughters, Myra and Hannah, clung to her arms. They looked shaken, but brave in the way children are when they try to act older than they feel. I exhaled shakily, brushing a hand over Amina's hair. "They shouldn't have seen that," I murmured, glancing toward Alina's daughters. "They shouldn't have," Alina agreed quietly. Her voice wavered just enough to betray the weight pressing on her. "But they are safe. You and Amina are safe. That's what matters." I rubbed my forehead. I didn't want any of this to touch them, if they had gotten hurt. She shook her head. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Blame yourself for the storm you didn't cause." "Storm? Yes. That's exactly what it felt like I'd been caught in a hurricane long before she ever stepped into it." A small hand tugged at her sleeve. Myra, the older daughter, looked up. "Mom, can we go home now?" Alina cupped her cheek gently. "Soon. Sweetheart, the police just need to finish talking to everyone." Hannah leaned closer to her mother. "I was scared," she whispered. "I know," Alina said, pulling both girls into her arms. "I'm so sorry you had to see that, but you did everything right." Her tenderness was disarming. Watching her, I felt something shift inside me, something I didn't want to acknowledge. An officer approached her next. "We're going to ask if you and your daughters can step outside for a moment," he said politely. "Just for safety while we clear the property." Alina nodded and stood, but not before glancing at me with a question in her eyes. "Are you okay?" I gave a small nod. A lie, but one she seemed to accept only because she had to. She ushered her daughters outside, wrapping an arm around each of them as they walked toward the police car. The night air was cold, and they huddled closer to her as she guided them away from the broken house. And then, for the first time that night, I was alone. My knees gave out before I realized what was happening. I sank onto the edge of the couch, clutching Amina, fighting the suffocating wave rising inside me. The Marine in me tried to stay upright. The father in me broke. I couldn't do this anymore. Not the debts, not the danger, not the shame of watching someone else rescue me in front of my own child. But the moment the thought crossed my mind, dark, spiraling, my gaze fell on Amina's tiny hand resting on my chest. She slept lightly, her eyelashes brushing her cheeks, her breathing soft and even, and I remembered why I kept fighting. The front door creaked. Alina came back inside. She walked toward me slowly, as if approaching a wounded animal. "You're shaking," she said quietly. "I'm fine. I lied again." She knelt in front of me and looked up with eyes that wouldn't let me hide. "You just fought off 3 men alone while holding a baby. You're not fine, and you don't have to pretend." Her voice softened. Not with me. My throat tightened. I didn't want your daughters to get dragged into this, I said. You put yourself at risk. For a stranger. Not a stranger, she said firmly. Not after tonight. A long silence settled between us. She brushed a strand of hair behind her ear and glanced at the broken door. You can't sleep here tonight. No, I murmured. I can't. She hesitated. I could see the conflict in her eyes, responsibility fighting against concern, logic fighting against instinct. Then she exhaled. Come with me. I blinked. What? You and Amina. Stay at my place for the night. Alina, no. Absolutely not. You already did enough. You risked enough. Kareem, she said softly, your house isn't safe. My daughter's asking if you're okay. They won't sleep if I leave you here. She gave a tired, broken smile. And I won't sleep either. You barely know me, I whispered. Then let me fix that, she replied. My heart hammered. Something in her voice, something raw, made my jaw tense, made my breath falter. I swallowed hard. If your ex-husband hears about this, or the board of your company. Her eyes flickered. Pain briefly flashed through them. I'm not married, she whispered. Not anymore. It shouldn't have mattered, but it did. The officer returned. We've cleared the property. You can leave now. Alina stood and reached out a hand to me, not touching me, but offering. I stared at her hand, at Amina asleep against my shoulder, at the broken house around us, and I realized I had no choice. I took her hand. Her grip was warm, steady, grounding in a way I hadn't felt in years. We stepped outside into the night, her daughters rushing to her side. They stared at me with wide eyes, fearful, curious, strangely trusting. Alina squeezed their shoulders. It's okay. We're all going home. A home. Not mine. Not hers. But something. We drove in her SUV, Amina sleeping peacefully in my arms while her daughters whispered in the back seat, stealing glances at me like I was some mysterious creature. Alina kept stealing glances too, small ones, careful ones, her hands gripping the wheel too tightly, her breaths uneven. She was shaken, far more than she let on. Are you sure about this? I murmured when the road grew quiet. No, she admitted, but I'm doing it anyway. Why? Lights passed over her face, streetlights carving shadows across her features, highlighting the exhaustion around her eyes. Then she said the words that shifted everything again. Because I need to believe good people still exist. I turned away, my chest tightening painfully. And because, she added, voice barely audible, I think you're one of them. Silence stretched, thick and heavy. We reached her house, a large, modern home with tall windows glowing softly in the dark. Too nice, too expensive, too much like the life I'd lost the moment I left the Marines. She led us inside quietly. Her daughters rushed upstairs to change into pajamas after Alina kissed their foreheads and whispered promises that everything was okay. The house felt warm, safe, filled with the soft scent of lavender candles and children's crayons. She set up a guest room with quiet efficiency. Fresh sheets, a soft blanket, a crib she hadn't used in years but kept in storage just in case. She moved through the room with movements that were too practiced, like she'd done this before, like she made space for someone once and then lost them. When she finished, she leaned against the wall, rubbing her temples. Thank you, I whispered. You don't need to thank me, she said. Just stay tonight. Rest. Breathe. She started to walk away, but I reached out instinctively. Alina. She stopped, turned. What about tomorrow? I asked. When all this reality comes crashing down. Her eyes softened. Tomorrow, she whispered, we figure out together. She left, closing the door softly behind her. For the first time in months, maybe years, I let myself lie back and exhale without fear of the next blow. But as Amina slept beside me, and as the quiet of Alina's home wrapped around me like a fragile safety net, I felt something else stirring beneath the calm. Something dangerous. Something impossible. Something new. I wasn't falling for her. Not yet, but I was falling toward her. And deep down, in the place where broken men hide their secrets. I feared what would happen when she fell toward me, only to find a past that could still destroy both of us. A week passed before I saw them again. Not because they were avoiding me, though they might have been, but because I needed time to understand what forgiveness actually meant. What rebuilding meant. What trust meant after being pulverized into ash and blown apart into the corners of a life I was still learning to navigate. But every night, I replayed the moment the girls hugged me, the softness of their trust, the instinctive way they leaned into me. They weren't my daughters, but I felt something pull tight inside my chest every time I thought of them, something I didn't have words for, something deeper than responsibility but gentler than desire. And every night, I replayed the moment Claire walked out of my arms, her breath shaking, the guilt on her spine almost visible, bowing her shoulders. I wondered whether I could ever hold her again without feeling hollowed out and refilled with a ghost. I told myself I wasn't going to see her again. I told myself it was smarter. I told myself a betrayal was a final thing. But on the 8th night, at 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. One short message. 12 characters. No emojis. No begging. No explanation. Can we talk, please? I stared at it for a long time, so long the screen dimmed twice and I had to tap it awake. The old version of me, the version who had been ready to shield a stranger and her daughters from rain and heartbreak, would have answered immediately. The new version didn't know what the right thing was. But the father in me, the quiet, instinctive protector, answered anyway. Yes. Where are you? 30 seconds later, outside. I wasn't ready for the sight that waited past my front door. Claire standing alone under the flickering streetlight, her hair pulled back in a shaky knot, her coat wrapped tight around her like a shield. She looked smaller, thinner, her eyes rimmed red but determined in a way that felt painfully familiar. She looked like someone who had made a decision they weren't sure they deserved to make. Her daughters were not with her. That chilled me more than anything. I stepped outside, slowly, unsure how close I was allowed to get. Unsure if I should comfort her. Unsure if I should keep every emotion under armor. "They're safe," she whispered before I could ask. "They're with my sister." I didn't want them to hear anything or see me break again. The word again cut through me like a dull knife. "What do you need, Claire?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. Her breath trembled. "The truth." I waited. "The whole truth," she added. "Not the version I've been giving pieces of. Not the version that makes me look wounded. The version where I'm the one who broke something first." The street was silent, the kind of silence that makes every breath seem too loud. I gave a small nod. She exhaled shakily. I fell in love with someone before my marriage truly died, and I pretended it was a dead marriage to justify what I did. Her eyes flicked up to mine, wet but unwavering. I betrayed him. I betrayed myself. I betrayed my daughters. And then I brought that broken version of me to you. I swallowed hard, but stayed still. "I didn't want to be that woman anymore," she whispered. "You made me feel like I could be different. Better, but instead of living up to that, I dragged you into a storm I created." A cold breeze cut between us, rustling the dead leaves at our feet. "Claire," I said carefully, "you didn't drag me. I walked in willingly." Her chin quivered. "And that's what terrifies me. That someone good walked into my life and I didn't warn him that every part of me, every history, every flaw, every wound, was a trap waiting to trigger." I didn't know what to do with that. "Not yet. Can we talk inside?" she asked hesitantly. "I understand if not." I stepped back, holding the door open without a word. Inside, the air was warmer, quieter, too intimate for two people balancing on the edge of a cliff. She walked to the living room and stood in the dim glow of the lamp like she was afraid to sit, afraid to touch anything, afraid to leave pieces of herself on my furniture. "Do you hate me?" she asked softly. I didn't answer right away. "I don't," I finally said, "but I don't trust you. Not yet." Her shoulders slumped with a strange kind of relief. "Not happiness, but honesty." "That's fair," she whispered. She sat down, slowly, as if gravity was heavier tonight. I sat across from her, knees shaking beneath my jeans, chest tight in a way that felt both painful and grounding. "I came because I didn't want to lie to you about anything," she said. Not about my marriage. Not about the affair. Not about why I left him. And not about why I care about you. The air seemed to still. My heart made a strange, painful stutter. She wiped a tear with the back of her hand. I care about you, and that scares me more than anything. Because caring about someone means I could break them. And I already broke one good man. I didn't want to break another. That's not your decision to make, I said quietly. Her breath hitched. I know. Silence pulled between us again, deeper this time. Not sharp, not cruel, just real. Then she told me everything. Every detail she had hidden. Every moment she had rationalized. Every time she had chosen comfort over honesty. Every night she had stayed in a marriage that was already dying but refused to admit it. Every text she shouldn't have replied to. Every moment she should have told the truth sooner. And as she talked, something inside me shifted. Not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding. Painful, human, imperfect understanding. She wasn't a villain. She was someone who had been drowning for so long she didn't know what swimming looked like anymore. And I wasn't a savior. Just someone who had accidentally been standing close enough to see her desperation, her hope, her ache, and mistaken it for something I was capable of fixing. So, she whispered, voice cracking, if you want me to leave your life completely, I will. If you want space, I'll give it. If you want nothing from me, no explanations, no apologies, no future, I'll accept that. Her hands trembled in her lap. But if there's even the smallest chance that someday you and I could build something honest, something slow, something steady, then I'll do whatever it takes to rebuild what I broke. My throat felt thick, tight, raw. Why now? I asked. She looked into my eyes, and I saw something different there. Not fear, not guilt, not desperation. Resolve. Because my daughters love you, she said. Because I love the way they feel safe near you. Because when they talk about you, they sound like they are talking about the kind of man I want them to believe exists. A man who keeps his word. Who listens. Who protects. Who stays. My heart thudded painfully. And because, she whispered, I want to become someone worthy of the way you looked at me that night in the storm. I want to earn that someday. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. The room suddenly felt small, too full of emotions neither of us knew how to hold. I leaned back, pressing my palms into my knees, grounding myself. I'm not ready to love anyone, I said honestly. I'm still putting my life together. My career, my finances, my stability, my emotional bruises. She nodded, eyes softening. I know. And I don't know what anything between us looks like. I added. Or if it should exist. I know that too. But I don't want you out of my life. I said, the word surprising even me. I care about you. I care about your girls. And I don't want to pretend I don't. Her breath escaped in a slow, uneven rush. Then tell me what you can offer. Not more, not less. I thought for a long moment. A beginning, I said. She blinked. A beginning. A slow one, I clarified. No rushing. No pretending we're something we're not. No repeating old patterns. No lies. No stepping outside boundaries. No emotional shortcuts. Her eyes shimmered. And what do you need from me? Honesty, I said, even when it's ugly. I can do that, she whispered. And space, I added. We build this carefully, gradually. And if either of us isn't ready, we pause. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks again. Yes, I can do that. I want to do that. And then something quiet and fragile unfolded between us. She reached across a small distance, not touching me, just placing a hand near mine, close enough that I could choose. Not a plea, an offer. And for the first time since everything shattered, I didn't feel broken. I gently placed my hand on hers. Her breath caught, soft and aching. Not passion, not forgiveness, just connection. A clean slate drawn in trembling ink. Outside, the night was quiet. No storms, no urgent knocks, no frantic breaths of fear. Just two people sitting in the warm dimness, agreeing to rebuild something that had cracked before it had ever fully formed. Not perfect, but honest. And maybe someday that would be enough.